All right, let's dance.
Let's do it.
Let's get right to it
Oh
today.
my gosh, I'm trying to run. I'm running again.
I know. You're back on the production side
Yeah.
of things today.
I am.
And because our kids are still gone.
Yeah, slackers.
Or on mission trips, one or the other. They could be out. They could be out, doing worse things like gambling and horse races and I don't know, drinking. I don't know. They're not doing that. They're on mission trips, and so I think we should give them some slack, guy.
All right, fine. Some slack. But, I think to me it sounds like a big old vacation, if you ask me.
Oh, I don't think Ava would tell you right now she's in vacation land. It took her over 25 hours to get to Africa.
Yeah.
She was wiped out. She
Yeah.
said she landed. It was dumping rain, and she was pretty scared in the traffic, the hour-long bus ride to get to the village that she's working in.
Oh, yeah, I believe that.
So she was a little freaked out. I don't think she'd be like, hey, this is a vacation, Dad. I don't think that's what you're going to hear from her.
She may not say that, but I kind of view it that way. I got to be honest with you. All right, so let's get into what's going on. We're going to talk some local politics first. Governor's race continues to kind of go up and down, who's in, who's out. We'll talk about that real quickly here. And then we're going to get into New Mexico voter registration, which I think a lot of people think, oh my gosh, they think, Mexico is always going to be the way it is. There are changes going on in the electorate in New Mexico, and you want to see those numbers. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to watch, and it should matter to whatever party you're from, whether you're not with the party at all, whether you're just an independent. It's just kind of interesting stuff to see where the numbers are going. We're going to take a look at some politics stuff. Karine Jean-Pierre is back. She's
with
in the
a
mix.
book, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
it's
are we not
great.
shocked that she's going to have a book coming out in October?
It's going to be fantastic. And by the way, the Boulder suspect who lit 8 Jewish protesters on fire, that continues to reverberate. It's an unbelievable story, one that is incredibly sad. And then the media's response is yet again not going to meet the moment.
Right. I mean, not shocking at all.
Yeah, no, it really is not. So, and then we're going to get into what's going on with the budget. It matters. I mean, I'm telling you, you're going to see some stuff going on with the budget. It's ugly stuff. And Elon Musk comes out and freaks out, thinks it's terrible. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happened there. And then we're going to get into the 3 worst drinks that you can have.
And you're not telling me what those are. So I think that's
supposed to be healthy, and they're not.
Interesting.
And Christy consumes one of them regularly.
Oh,
and then
what?
we finish. Calm it down. We finish
calm it
with. We finish with the latest and greatest Yeti video.
Okay, I know.
Bigfoot. This is legitimate.
Oh,
Bigfoot
I can't
video.
wait to show people this Bigfoot video we have. It's definitely worth staying tuned in, people. I can't wait to show it to you. So then we can all have a conversation about it. I can't wait.
Okay.
And it's in Colorado. So, and if you're hearing a little sense of sarcasm, it's because I am actually laying on pretty thick. I think.
Yeah, you should be laying on pretty thick because that's what's going on.
You and I can't wait to get the Bigfoot expert on our show.
I'm trying. I'm working on it.
I know you and Ava have been trying to get this Bigfoot expert on for over a year.
I know. He's out of Canada. His name is Todd Standing. We're working on it. The guy has put together some incredible videos.
Is there not another Bigfoot expert we could have come on?
I
mean, there's got to be like 100 of them out there, right?
Yeah, but you want the ones that are spiciest. And Scott or Todd, rather.
Maybe that's why he won't come on.
That's
a good
point.
Name.
I don't know his name. That's a problem. No. I do know his name, and we're gonna get him on. We're gonna get him on. Okay. All right. You ready to roll here? Here we go. So this came out a couple days ago, and I have to tell you, it's a little bit of a surprise, but in some ways, maybe not. Gregg, who came out guns a-blazing about 6 months ago saying he planned to announce that he was running for governor. He tried to do the double barrel announcement, like have one announcement and then say, I'm going to announce later too, which again, at the time we said was a bad idea. Don't do that. It's not helpful. It doesn't work. And so right now he is postponing his gubernatorial campaign announcement. Okay, so here's some of what was said, and this is from the Rio Rancho Observer.
Okay, Hull previously issued a news release April 15th in which he stated, I will be speaking directly to New Mexicans on June 2nd about our vision for the land of enchantment, so stay tuned. That release came shortly after he filed a biannual report of his campaign expenditures and contributions totaling over $206,000. But on Monday, the campaign issued a news release stating it is still in a strategic growth phase to expand its operation before making an official announcement. The release said information about an announcement will be shared, but did not give an official date or estimate. And, so a couple of things here. Obviously, we like Gregg a lot. He's a great guy. He's a great mayor. He's got a lot of enthusiasm. I think we've said this
Yeah.
on the show. We'll say it again. He really, really enjoys the process of being mayor.
Yeah.
Like the guy loves doing his job.
He lives it. He lives it. He's a process guy and loves the process.
Right.
Yep.
Now, but here's the thing. He could potentially rerun for mayor of Rio Rancho, and that election's also in 26. Is that correct? I believe it's also in 26.
25. It's not the same exact time.
Okay.
I don't think.
But it's somewhere in the next little bit.
Yeah,
and so you kind of have to make
yeah.
a decision if he's going to run for mayor, for re-election of mayor, which people think he would get it, right? Because he's well liked there.
Yeah, he does a great job.
Or does he risk it all and try to run for governor? And basically that's what he's trying to fill out. Is that right. A good assessment?
Yeah, I think it's a very fair assessment. And I think here's what happens. And this is just the God's honest truth. Running for governor is incredibly difficult. And being successful at any level, forget even getting through the primary into the general and winning the general. Forget even winning an actual election, whether it be a primary or the whole shebang. It's very difficult. It's soul crushing. It really is. You have to constantly go out there, raise an unbelievable amount of money, get enthusiasm, get people behind you, get an actual movement going. And it's really, really hard. It's never what people think it is.
I know.
Most days are spent grinding. And sometimes it's just phone calls, donor after donor after donor, convincing them that you've got a chance to win. And right now, there's a fair amount of fatigue, I think, with some people in the state thinking we can't ever win. When the problem is that a lot of them don't know and aren't looking behind the numbers. They don't know that we were ahead by 3 points before Dobbs, right? They don't know that. They don't know the numbers we're about to share with you, that the electorate is getting closer in the state of New Mexico. So if you're the out party, like Republicans are, and you think, oh my gosh, we're never going to win. So you go in and talk to all these people, and Gregg Hull gets into the middle of this thing and thinks, oh yeah, I'm going to get in, we're going to do all this, I'm going to do this, and then this, and then this. It's incredibly hard. And most people just can't get there. It's just difficult. And so I think what he's having to face is a real simple question. Do you take the chance that you can raise more money, create that momentum, or do you, as a guy who loves to govern, keep doing a job you love? That's my guess. I have not talked to Gregg about this at all.
Right.
I've talked to him, but not about this and not recently. Okay. And I think my guess is he's having to truly look in the mirror and be like, can I do this? Can I? Because a lot of people sit around a table and talk to their friends.
I know. You can listen to the tunnel and have everybody say, I mean, how many people have we talked to personally that have been like, oh yeah, well, a lot of people think I should run for governor, meaning like them,
Right.
And I'm just sitting there going, okay. Like your wife and your friends and a couple of business associates and some people they're going to write you $100 check. Like those people, like you need an entire movement of people to get behind you. You need an army, and that takes real strategic thinking. It takes, especially for a statewide election, it's very different than a citywide election, and it's very different than focusing on
congressional seat even.
I will say honestly, I had no idea how much goes into it until we went through 2 campaigns, and even the difference between a Senate campaign and a governor's campaign was day and night. And it is, I watched you. You worked hard as a weatherman and as a meteorologist. You worked really hard. I've never seen you work as hard as you did when you ran for office. It was up before sunup. I rarely saw you. You traveled the state. You put more mileage on our cars than I could ever imagine. You were on the phone all the time. There was no dinner time. There was no family time. There was nothing for almost a year and a half, both times, right? And so watching that and knowing that this is what it takes. And it's not like all this glory and glam. It's not like, you're going in and they're hosting dinners for you and all this. No, you're on the phone having to talk to people
all
constantly.
those things do happen, though. I mean, you meet great people, and yes, you have the huge rallies, not as a Senate candidate, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, you do somewhat as a Senate candidate, but nothing like governor. Right. Like when you are your party's nominee for governor and you're in a close race, that's true. The last month to 2 months of the governor's races are exhilarating. There's no question. That stuff's cool because you've raised all the money. Really, the hay is in the barn. Pretty much the last month. So you know all this. You're spending every dime that you raise because you're doing everything you can to win. But it is it is a long process where it is just everybody thinks, I'm just going to get all these people on board. It just doesn't work that way. And the problem is that you have to have the fortitude to just keep going. And so I don't know what Gregg's doing. I don't know what he's dealing with. But I can tell you this, that he's a good mayor and does really well. So I wonder if he's not thinking to himself, I'm really good at being mayor. This governor thing is tough. It's a tough thing to do. And so I'm not sure I can get across the line. That would be my guess. I don't know. Again, I say this not knowing. At some point we'll get Gregg to come on.
Right.
Because he is a great guy and a great mayor. So we'll see. You never know. He could announce soon and just take off and let this thing go. And again, this stuff can be done, though. It's not like it can't be done. When Susana Martinez ran in 2010, she was not well known. And over time, she built her name and she did it, right? So this can be done. We were able to come out never having been in politics and win 2 primaries and get close in the general elections. No, we didn't win. And so ultimately, though, what you realize, though, is this is not something that is taken lightly. It's very difficult to do. And so I think that's why you're seeing some people and you say, why hasn't so-and-so announced? Or why hasn't so? Because I think if they're smart, you're contemplating this and you're thinking, how difficult is this going to be for me? And so I think that's going to be a challenge.
Right. And I think people that have actually ran in races or have worked on campaigns, because there's people out there that I know are contemplating running too, that have worked with others or been on part of a team or something to that degree. I think they know when you've done this, you know what it takes and you know how much money it is that you need to raise. You also know the stakes that are against you and you also know how long this is.
Right.
So this is a long haul. And while the last month of the governor's race will probably go down in history as some of my favorite memories of all time of for our family, of meeting the people of the state and truly getting to know people and talking to them and feeling like we're going to move the needle in this state and we were so fired up to do it. That took months of planning to even get there and hard work by you to even get to that and your team to even get to that point. So I think people kind of see that part of it or maybe feel that part of it and think, I'm in, this is what I want to do. And you have to look back at the 15 months of hell that took you to get there. Yeah. The backstabbing, the name calling, the getting up terrible. Every day,
and the other
thing press that don't like you, and they put out whatever they feel like saying that day.
The press, what bothers you the most is that what bothers you the most is your own party. Is they shred you. Is they absolutely shred you. It's your own party and I think Democrats would say the same thing. Yeah. That you end up in these rooms and it's not that they don't mean well, but they all of a sudden think that either you don't care or you don't get it meanwhile you have taken your whole entire life and blown it up to try to make a difference if you can. Yep. Right? And you do everything and you don't want their adoration. You just want them to understand what you're going through a little bit.
You just don't need the fighting you don't understand and you don't get this and that kind of attitude. I think
or you don't care.
Right.
You don't care. You're getting money, but nobody gets money. If you're doing it right, you don't earn a dime.
Yeah, no, you do not.
You do not take that money out of your account.
You would be crazy.
You leave it in the account, you spend it every way you can, and then you find another way to live off another stream of income. We didn't take a dime out of our accounts.
Yeah, you didn't spend a dime on a burger out of your donation money, let alone anything else. But, I think it's just hard because there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. At your election night, the primary night, before we knew the results, I did read part of the poem, The Arena, because I feel like it's valuable for people to realize that unless you step into the arena, unless you get in there, you can have all the opinions in the world on policy and differences of policy. And that's what we like to talk about on this show is are these people going to really move the needle for the people of the state? But when it becomes like a personal thing and they think they know you when they don't, those kind of things, that's what bothers me. I'm like, have you been in the arena? And number 2, there is no such thing as a perfect candidate. You're not going to find somebody that checks every single box for you. You're just not going to find that. And so if that's what you're waiting on, is to find the perfect candidate for mayor or for governor or senate or whatever, it has to be this perfect mayor that does everything exactly the way you want. You're going to be sitting back and we're never going to make any changes. So that would be my thing too, is to say, as voters out there, take a breath sometimes and recognize these people are human. They're just normal people that are trying to do things that are better for the state.
So. No, that's a good point. It's a very good point. And by the way, one other quick thing. There's an article in the Santa Fe New Mexican on Wednesday. Howie Morales is considering getting in for the Democrats. Howie, if you've ever met Howie, very nice guy. And so would be an interesting candidate. I think he would be an interesting
He's the current lieutenant governor.
He's a current lieutenant governor. Right. So that that may hurt him. It may not. I mean, who knows, right? I don't know, but he is not someone who is insignificant in any way. So he'd be an interesting candidate.
Do you think he could win the primary against Deb Haaland and Sam Bregman?
Well, I think he may. So I think that he would probably come in to the right of Haaland, to the left of Bregman, would be my guess is how he'd run. If I was him, that's what I would do. And I think that he could hurt Showboat Sam a little bit. You know, I mean, because Showboat Sam's going to have, he's going to have to find enough votes on the Democratic side, which again, he acts like he's running in a primary for the independent party. He's not.
Right.
Okay. And so he's creating this, again, we've got into this and we will again, but overall, I think he could be someone of consequence. So we'll see. But he is a likable guy. Like if you're around him, he's a likable guy. Other than when he stood on a stage when somebody said I was trying to kill women. Other than that, and he didn't push back.
I don't have great feelings about the guy.
We don't need to get into it.
Okay.
But it was yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
We'll leave it at that then, because I know that I'm not voting for Howie. I'll just go ahead and put that right.
Neither am I. But that's okay. Who cares who we're voting for? So okay. So here we go. So I want to show you something though, and a reason for optimism in the state. And I would argue this is a reason for optimism. No matter what party you're in, you should want this to be the case. And I'll tell you why. Look at the numbers in the state of New Mexico and what's happening here. Now I want to show you. Here's the total party registration. Okay, so you look and you say there are 434,000 roughly Republicans, 435,000 or so Republicans, 570,000 Democrats, 339,000 declined to states. By the way, this is thunder if you're hearing it. We got some storms here in the Albuquerque.
I'm hoping we don't lose power, actually.
Oh, we're not going to lose power. We're good. We're going to be fine. But what I want to show you about this is take a look down at November of 2016. Okay, there were 399,000 Republicans, okay? And there were 599,000 Democrats. A 200,000 voter difference in the state of New Mexico. That's, again, 2016. Go up to 2024. That difference is down to 154,000, okay? That's significant. That is a significant erosion. And the reason I say it's good for everybody is because I think you want a state where both sides are very competitive and are forced to fight it out with each other. Because if there is one party that is in control and they are in control in perpetuity and they know it, then they become less responsive to the people which they supposedly serve. And I think we've seen it in the state. When you get one party rule constantly, you see it in California. You see it in all kinds of states, New York. You see it all the time. And again, you could argue you see it in Mississippi. You see it in Alabama. You don't see the kind of competitiveness that you want that forces the parties to stay adherent to the people of the state. I just think it's important. So overall, I would say this. So if you're running and you're thinking about running in one of these elections and you see that, you know what, it's getting tighter. Now, it's still a 12-point advantage. If you do these numbers and do the math, it's a 12-point advantage for Democrats. Okay, some have said it's as low as 10. I just did simple math here. It's 12. Okay, so, but still, that's getting closer than 15. Right. And so anyway, just one of those things that we're seeing at this point, and we'll see how it ends up shaking out.
Well, I also want to point out, though, that the independent or the other party is also growing. Okay, so whether they're libertarian or they're independent, they decline.
Here, let's go to it. Yeah.
So that also has climbed up since 2016.
Well, so their numbers are up roughly, babe, about 60,000 from 16 to 24, if you look at those numbers.
Right.
So if we go over here to this, they're up from 289 to 351. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's significant. That's worth mentioning is the fact that
you're exactly right. It's the highest growth number.
Right. And it's interesting to see are people just removing themselves from either party?
Yep.
You know?
They are.
And is that the route that we're going? But
yeah.
Okay. So according to like this wave, it's not just here in New Mexico, though. This is kind of more of a national trend, right? With more Republicans now registering to vote, or with the party growing, I guess.
Well, the popularity is a problem for Democrats right now, right? So they're struggling right now, trying to figure out, how they lost and everything else. And Harry Enton went on CNN, and he's looking at some numbers, and he brought up some stuff that is not promising right now for the party as they try to come out of the 2024 election.
Trump presidency, that you expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. The party that is closest to your economic views, in November of 2023, it was the Republicans by 11 points. Now it's still within that range, still within that margin of error. plus 8-point advantage for the Republican Party. How is that possible, Democrats? How is that possible after all the recession fears, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me?
This is This is new CNN polling.
Yes.
How is that, when we look for trends, how is that trending with other data that you're pulling in?
Yeah, if it was just this one CNN poll, that would be one thing. But take a look at Reuters Ipsos. What do we see here? Party with a better economic plan. Well, in May of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected president, Republicans had a 9-point advantage. Look at where we are now in May of 2025. The advantage actually went up by 3 points. Now Republicans have a 12-point advantage when it comes to the party with a better economic plan. And again, this is after months of supposed economic uncertainty in which the stock market's been going bonkers, in which the tariff wars that Americans are against have been going on. And yet, despite all of that, the Democrats are down by 12 points on the economy. This speaks to Democratic problems on the economy better than basically anything that you could possibly look at. The Republicans still hold an advantage on the all-important key issue of the day, and that is the reason why, even if Donald Trump's approval ratings are a little bit lower than they used to be, Republicans are not out of the ballgame because they still have a clear advantage on the economy, whether you look at CNN's polls or whether you look at the Ipsos poll right here, in which they have a 12-point advantage on the economy, Kate.
And also in the
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you see the trend. I feel like we've felt this, though. I feel like this is obvious when you watch any sort of media coverage. I think when you start to hear the other side really kind of panicking, and they say things that just feel panicking, like they're not talking about the issue. They talk more about how we hate Trump. I still feel like that still happens. And when you start to see, I don't know, I just think that when that's all they can talk about is that they hate Trump versus a policy issue. That's always a red flag for me. I'm like, you guys are losing you can't win on the policies. So
well, and they do have to figure that out, because you're right. I mean, that's a huge issue in the respect that, when you talk about the economy and say, where's the Democratic Party going on the economy? You don't have an answer. You said Trump bad. And I still think you have a huge hangover, too, from what had happened with Biden. And voters are sophisticated enough that they're like, well, wait a minute. He's been in office for 4 months or whatever it is, right? Let's let this kind of play itself out. And plus, a lot of the things that have been talked about, Social Security is going to get cut. Medicare is going to get cut. Medicaid is going to get cut. Well, none of that has happened. And so what you got to wait and see is how does it all play out? And we'll get into that on the budget bill. But you can't just press the panic button now with the media and think it's going to get you where you want to go. Well, because you've already played that game and it didn't work. And all of a sudden, the things that you said were happening were not happening. Or the things you said that weren't happening were actually happening, right? And so there's a lot of these different issues right now. And trust with the voters is hard. It's one thing to look at the party in power and to say, we don't think they're doing a good job. It's another thing to say, but I think their opponents are. In other words, we used to see this as Republicans. You'd say, oh man, we're Democrats are screwing up. Go with us. And the voters would be like, tell me why. It's not as simple as they're screwing up, go with me. It's not that simple. And oftentimes it doesn't work that way.
Right. But you're saying, it's interesting that, there's been some pushback, a little bit of pushback in the media on Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security cuts. However, our state reps are back here right now from D.C. doing town hall meetings, absolutely trying to scare voters by saying, hey, they're going to cut Medicaid, they're cutting Medicare, and they're going to take away your SNAP benefits for your kids and your families. And I'm like, I'm hearing about this. I'm reading the press releases, and I'm saying, is anybody calling these guys out and saying, what are you doing? None of this has happened. Like, you're out here driving fear through town hall meetings that you're going to fight back against these cuts. And I'm like, what cuts?
And the Republicans should be careful here, though, too. They have to be clear on where are these cuts. They're part of waste, fraud, and abuse. They're not part of people that are duly receiving their benefits. Those are not going to be cut. However, if you are, and Republicans have said this, and I think it's a decent place to be, if you're receiving benefits and you're able to work, you should. Right. And so let's have that out. So that's one of those policy things, but that's not going to swing the economy one way or another toward the Democrats. So that's one of the things they're going to have to deal with. But then the hangover, I think, from what happened with the Biden administration is actually going to get worse, because I can't believe this. Like, we thought Jake Tapper writing a book was crazy and a little bit nuts because of the role he played in not wanting to address a lot of the issues with Biden. Well, this one's over the top.
Yeah, Karine Jean-Pierre, she's now claiming, I'm no longer a Democrat, people. She's going to hype up a memoir called Broken. I believe it's called Broken. or it's at least a book about the broken administration that she served under Biden. I think this is really rich coming from her. It says White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre announced Wednesday she has left the Democratic Party and is writing a tell-all book about the broken administration she served. She's worked as Biden's top spokesperson for 2 years and 8 months and stunned fellow White House alums by announcing her book. Her book is called Independent, a look inside a broken White House outside the party lines. It's expected to come out on October 21st.
The quote, though, listen to the quote, by the way. Hatchet Book is doing this.
Hatchet Book Group said in a promotional release, Jean-Pierre didn't come to her decision to be an independent lightly.
This is, honestly, you thought Jake Tapper was over the top, and you're like, oh, come on, Jake. This is, the stuff Karine Jean-Pierre said about President Biden. He runs circles around all of us. We can't keep up with them. The fact that you're saying these things is totally inappropriate. And now you see this happen and wanting to write a book to make some cash.
She wants to make money. Because I said this exactly after the election. What is she going to do now? Who does she go work for? Once all of this came out, her credibility is in the tank, right? It's in the toilet. I don't know how you rebuild herself and how anybody would take her at face value.
The gall is staggering.
She can't be a brand ambassador. She can't be a public spokesperson for anybody because now we know all she can do is get up there and just funnel out the lies and the mistruths. And, she's trying to claim, I guarantee you, she's going to be like, I didn't know about this. I was snowed as well as you.
Listen to the thunder.
Now I know more, and I'm just here to tell everybody about it. Just be truthful and transparent and make some cash. That is what she's doing. She's just making cash now. This is all going to be a bunch of hooey. I'm not buying her book.
You're going hooey.
Hooey.
It
is. I am, and I will not.
Please try to keep the language under control.
I will try to keep the language under control. But here's the thing: I'm not going to buy her. I'm not buying. Well,
I bet you're not, and I don't know who does, because here's one of the things you'd have to ask yourself if you're her publisher. You say, okay, who buys this book? Do conservatives buy it? No, because conservatives see this and go, come on, we saw what you did. Give me a break. Right. So they have your reaction. If you're on the left of this, you're like, I don't want to read all this nightmare. I want to move on from this. It's the last thing I want to be dealing with.
Plus, it's coming out in October, by the way. So she's delaying this. You got Tapper's book out in May. Her book doesn't come out till October. That tells me that she's like, well, if Tapper's doing okay, I guess there's some money in here for me.
If she comes out and lights it on fire, if she comes out and says, stuff that actually really happened, versus a sanitized version of it, you may have something here. I don't know.
Well, I just don't know how I don't know how she does both sides of this story then. I don't know how you say I was in the dark and I didn't know. And
I don't know what she's going to try to say. Maybe
myself.
She said, no, hold on. Maybe she says, wait a minute, I knew and I did. I was part of it and I'm sorry for that. I made a mistake. Here's everything that happened.
If she does that, if she comes
out. That could be crazy.
Babe, you don't understand. If she comes out and she's like, I knew about all this and I was just snowing the American public.
Yes.
The woman will never have a job again.
I'm sorry, what job do you think she's got going now?
Well, I have no idea, but she's been she was a spokesperson, was she not, for Obama as well? Isn't this
I think she worked for him.
Yeah, she worked for him. I think this is kind of her wheelhouse, marketing and public spokespeople and being a brand ambassador, that kind of thing.
Come on, after what she's done. I don't know what opportunity she has. I'm just saying this. If she's going for the real effort on this book and really going to take a big swing, hey, just let it rip. All right. So let's get to what's going on here with
the Boulder attack.
The Boulder attack. And again, that was Mohammed Solomon, who goes and lights people on fire in Pearl Street in Boulder.
Mm-hmm.
Horrendous.
Right.
Anti-Semitic attack.
Peaceful protest.
Yes. They all the people asked for is they were pro-Israeli demonstrators who said, release the hostages.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact there's another attack on Jews in this country is it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, we had the couple that were gunned down.
Oh, absolutely.
A couple weeks ago.
This is the anti-Semitic attacks are ramping up here, and they have to stop. It's absolutely infuriating to watch, and to think that there is not a significant pushback from every corner of the political spectrum here is to me an embarrassment, quite frankly.
Well, and I hope that I really do hope. I know that the charges they say are still pending for this guy, that right now it's a hate crime, and he's got some, he's got other counts against him for
this
attempted
federal
murder.
law. He's going to get hammered.
But he better get a terrorist type.
He will. That's the feds, though. I mean, the Trump administration is not going to let him off the hook.
Okay.
That's not. Yeah, this is not a local charge. This isn't like the Boulder DA comes in and goes,
Well, did you see the police in Boulder originally not wanting to call it a terrorist attack? And I had a problem with that.
Well, no, I can understand your point.
I was like, give me a break. This was super obvious what it was, and you're too scared to even mention that?
Yeah, these are the feds, though. They're not going to let, Trump administration is not going to let them get away with this. So one thing we want to talk about is whip this around to the fact that another attack right here on our soil. And we talked about Sarah Adams, who was a former CIA agent, talking about the fact that there are an unbelievable amount of terrorists in this country. And she went on Glenn Beck's show and said, basically, this is just the beginning. I mean, it is worse. And when you listen to her talk about some of the numbers and the fact that we may well have years worth of concern on our hands for what's happened because of an open border. And now you see people, just not vetted, and now they're in here. So listen to what Sarah Adams had to say about that.
Talking about both the assassinations in Washington, D.C. and the firebombing in Colorado. And you said, quote, it's going to get a lot worse. Coming from you, that carries a little more weight than it would coming from me. What does it mean? Why do you believe the attacks are about to escalate?
Well, there's two pieces to it, right? One is just the fact that we've allowed kind of like this radicalization around this pro-Hamas movement. And as you know, if you don't nip that in the bud, it becomes militant at some point, right? That's how those movements work. But the other thing is, because of how we left Afghanistan and there's this large terrorist infrastructure, bin Laden's sons are planning another 9/11 on U.S. soil. And if we don't get ahead of that, we have something much bigger than obviously what we saw in those two places, which were still horrific events.
So do you believe that people are already here? I mean, we've left our borders open. How many terrorists do you think have come in the last 4 years, and are they already here?
Yeah, so I think the majority of them are already here. Obviously, every group has different numbers. So according to Al-Qaeda, they sent 1,000 people here to participate in that one event. According to ISIS, they have 2,500 terrorists in the United States who are not here on a legal status. So that doesn't even account any ISIS members who are U.S. citizens, green card holders, or U.S. visa holders. According to the former head of Afghan's intelligence service, there's 1,000 Afghans here who are linked to a designated terrorist organization. So when you start putting these numbers together, we know other terrorist groups have come in, especially from the stands. A lot of the Pakistani terrorist groups have come in. The numbers probably in the last 4 years are easily over 8,000 terrorists have come in.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah.
8,000. I mean, this is terrifying when you think about the impact. And again, you see these smaller events and you think, well, okay, not that many people die. It's like, no, wrong answer. I mean, we are looking at an incredibly scary scenario here when our government took the eye off the ball and willingly just let people flood in.
Right. And getting desynthesized to it is not the right answer. Being like, this wasn't that bad. This is, there's been worse, those kind of things. What's it going to take? Some major event like a 9/11 for people to wake up? Like, I hope not.
The way she says it, it could be far worse than 9/11, right? Okay, so then Tom Homan comes out, and he had these comments on what he has seen on the ground and what his concerns are.
What concerned me the most was they created the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. Not only did 2 million known gotaways, 2 million people cross the border, we don't know who they are, where they came from, we don't know where they are now. On top of that, even through the legal process, the Biden administration were bringing people unvetted, handing out work visas like they're candy, while they sat here and planned something bad. We are going to be dealing with this for the next 10 years. Because of the chaos they created in 4 years. We're out there kicking butt. We're arresting a lot of criminal aliens. We're out there looking for the bad guy. And when we're out there doing that, Sean, we got protesters assaulting ICE officers. We got members of Congress all over the country going to ICE facilities, raising hell, saying this is their oversight responsibility. Where were their oversight responsibility when 10.5 million illegal aliens came across the border? Where's the oversight responsibility on releasing over 8 million illegal aliens to this country? Where's the oversight responsibility then? This is an attack on ICE. This is an attack on the Trump administration. We're trying to fix the damage done by Biden. I mean.
So, and by the way, so the latest on this information and the latest on the Boulder suspect, right? They have tried to take his family and deport them, right? All right. So, and of course, this is the USA Today take on this.
Right. Boulder suspect's daughter dreamed of studying medicine. Now she faces deportation.
Yeah. Okay. So give me a break,
I
right?
know.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, then maybe your dad shouldn't have tried to light people on fire with Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, and again, you don't have a right in this. By the way, they all came in illegally, but even if they had a visa, you don't have a right to these visas. You don't get a right to it. All right, you come at the pleasure of the American people, and so of course Michael Loria, misses the concept completely. And then Jonathan Lemire today on Morning Joe talking about this as if the Trump administration is being heavy-handed with trying to remove the family.
Making an example is understating it, really. White House almost gloating at Victory Lap. A number of tweets last night about about this suspect's family, rushing them out. And I was told by a White House advisor late yesterday that this is sort of the plan here. Is that we know from covering Donald Trump for a long time, his reflex is always to come back to immigration. He believes that's a signature issue. He believes that's what got him elected, and that Americans want to see things like this. Now,
yeah, you're right. They do. Americans want to see the fact that if you have a terrorist in the country, he and his family, number one, he should pay the price and his family should be gone. I'm sorry, but give me a break.
And
this is ridiculous.
And not talking about the victims' families at all. Like, how about talking about that today on Morning Joe instead of, this poor guy who lit these people on fire in a hate crime, in a terrorist attack. His poor family's going to have to be deported who are here illegally. Okay. Give me a break on all of that.
And I'm sorry, I was looking this up as you're talking.
Yeah, we're filming you looking things up.
I know, I'm sorry about that. That was not great. Admittedly, my producing leaves something to be desired. Headline, deportation of Boulder terror suspect Mohammed Suleiman's wife and 5 children blocked by a Biden-appointed judge.
Oh, of course.
So the judge is yet again, another district court judge decides, I'm going to become president now, and I'm going to stop them from being shipped out. It says the family of a Colorado terror suspect won't be tossed from the United States for now after a Biden-appointed judge slammed the brakes on their imminent deportation on Wednesday. Suleiman's wife and, let's see here, their daughter and 2 more minor daughters and 2 more minor sons were all detained and faced swift deportation before Judge Gordon Gallagher stepped in. Defendants shall not remove the family from the United States unless and until the court or the Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit vacates this order, he said. So yet again.
Do we know where this judge is from? Is it in Colorado? Or is it a different?
I don't know the 10th
Not sure.
Circuit,
Okay.
So
I know this just came out, but
don't ask me quiz questions, in a breaking news situation.
Okay, it's breaking
How long
news.
has he been on the bench?
Yeah, seriously. Who is this cat? Let's talk about this. No, we do need to have somebody come in and talk about these judges overreaching. And I don't understand where they suddenly, I love that the judges, there was some sort of comic drawing about the judges calling Trump like this, this overreacher and this man of the tyrannical power. And then meanwhile, the judges are the actual tyrannical powers that are trying to overstep their domain.
No, it's like Trump. No, what was the Babylon Bee headline? Trump, in an effort to gain more power, Trump becomes a district court judge. It's just what?
Come on.
It's ridiculous. Okay, so we'll see. But yet another situation, breaking news right now. Sorry that you had to watch me look it up. But okay, let's talk economy.
Yeah, and Elon Musk not happy today. Not happy yesterday. Here's his tweet talking about the big, beautiful bill. He says, "I'm sorry, I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong and you know it." Okay.
So why did he do this?
Well, according to Axios, it says the sources familiar with the Trump-Musk relationship say there appear to be 4 inflection points that led to basically Elon coming out against Trump's bill. First, the legislation cuts the electric vehicle tax credit that helps car makers like Tesla. As of late April, his company has spent at least $240,000 lobbying on behalf of the credit and other company matters. Behind-the-scenes sources say Musk also advocated for the measure in legislation, but to no avail. Number 2, Musk was working at the White House as what's being called a special government employee, and he had discussed trying to stay in that role beyond the 130-day time limit set by the statute for the unpaid advisory position. But ultimately, White House officials said he couldn't keep serving in that capacity.
They sort of, maybe muscled him out a little bit.
Maybe so. Number 3, Musk also wanted the Federal Aviation Administration to use his Starlink satellite system for national air traffic control, the sources said, but the administration balked at it because of the appearance of a conflict of interest and for technological reasons. I can't say that word. You can't have air traffic control just run off of satellites, the second source said. And finally, the fourth point, the final straw for Musk appeared to come Saturday night when Trump abruptly announced he was withdrawing the nomination of Jared Isaacman, a Musk ally, to be the NASA administrator.
Okay. Yeah. And again, it's Axios. Who knows if any of that stuff is true? But the reality of the situation is what we're looking at now is this bill is a huge deal. You can't break the bill down into separate bills, okay, or else with a lot of it, you'd need 60 votes. They want to do 51 votes. They want the reconciliation package. They want to not have to go and get 60 votes, which you would have to get in the Senate in most cases if you broke a bunch of this bill out. So it's a big onerous bill that you got to get a ton of people on board with. And right now, I think part of the objection that we've had when you have people like Ben Ray and Melanie Stansbury showing up in New Mexico saying, you're all going to lose coverage, everything, they have no idea. Why? Because there hasn't been a bill passed yet.
Right.
They have no clue. That thing is in the Senate. So in the Senate, they're going to have to tweak the bill. There's no doubt. It's going to look different coming out of the Senate, going back to the House, and then they're going to have to conference again and figure out what to do with the bill, right? I mean, and then eventually it'll be voted on in both chambers again. So we're a ways away from the process, but just one quick soundbite from Scott Jennings on what's happening with this and why there's a long way still to go on all this.
I wasn't surprised because I had spoken to him about what was motivating his service in Washington a few weeks ago, and he told me he's here to try to make America not go bankrupt. I mean, this is on his mind. We have a $36 trillion debt, and it should be on all of our minds. So that's number one. Number two, I don't think that we're done with the bill yet. I mean, as you know, and as the reporting says, lots of changes are going to have to be made in the Senate to get it out of the Senate, and then those will have to be reconciled. The reconciliation will have to be reconciled with the House, and more changes still may come. I guess I want multiple things. I want the president to get his agenda, and the agenda, the core part of this, and the thing that is not negotiable is the extension and making permanent the tax cuts, investment in border security, energy deregulation, the biggest welfare reform in recent history. I mean, these are non-negotiable, I think, to the president because it's what he ran on. But the Republicans should listen here to Elon when it comes to the national debt. We have work to do on this. We have governing responsibility. And maybe it doesn't come in this bill, but the rescissions packages to come and our other work to come here. Getting a handle on a $36 trillion debt is not going to be easy, but it is necessary because this is not sustainable.
What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's interesting to see what is Elon really upset about? Like, was Axios right? Or is this really like there wasn't enough cuts and this was just going to be too much more spend and it's not getting our debt under control, which is what he was kind of in charge of with Doge. So is he kind of feeling like all this work we did for Doge is for nothing? Maybe there's something of that in this.
Yeah, I can understand you. Yeah.
You know, and who knows? I mean, he's very vocal though, so it's not like we won't know. But
yeah, I also think, but I think Scott's point too that I thought was important as well, in addition to what you're saying, is that the whole debt thing is a massive cliff. It's a massive cliff. Like we've talked about it multiple times on the show. It's scary. Like we cannot continue to look at a debt of $37 trillion and think we can just keep kicking the can down the road. You can't do that. In fact, you're seeing more and more that even in the Wall Street Journal, this article in the Wall Street Journal here, Wall Street is sounding the alarm on the U.S. debt, and you start listening to what they're saying about it. We cannot ignore this anymore. And we've said this, it can't continue. And you have to begin at least getting the spending under control here. And I think there may be some, weak-kneed Republicans who don't necessarily want to do this. Well, guess what? You do have to do it. Now, you may have to do it the right way, of course, and make sure you're not hurting people who need things. But again, if you don't do this now, everyone will be hurt when you finally take responsibility for it. And you can see some people on Wall Street getting nervous.
Right. So here's a little bit of that story. It says, so why are several suddenly worried? Because the math is getting daunting with interest on the debt blowing past $1 trillion annually and Washington acting recklessly. Even people who have issued past warnings deserve a second hearing. Hedge fund manager Ray Dalio does have something to say, his book, How Countries Go Broke, which came out Tuesday. It's hardly staking his reputation on royalties, and his arguments are compelling. Dalio told Bloomberg he gives America 3 years, give or take a year, to avert an economic heart attack.
Yikes.
Let me read that again.
Yeah.
He's giving Dalio's told Bloomberg it gives America 3 years, give or take, to avert an economic heart attack. Peter Orszag, chief executive of investment bank Lazard and a former budget director, wrote last week that, quote, those who bemoaned the instability of deficient spending and debt levels back during his time in government seemed to cry wolf a lot. Well, now he's worried too because the wolf is lurking much closer to our door.
Oh, geez. So now he cares about the deficit now that he's in the debt that he's out of government now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
No, exactly. So this stuff is nuts. So then Scott Bessent has come out. And so he's really been very, very good at sort of laying out what are we really trying to do here so that it makes sense. And for someone who's as smart as Bessent is, he doesn't talk over people's heads. He tends to say things that make sense. So here's what he said on Face the Nation just a couple days ago.
Morgan's Diamond also predicted a debt market crisis. Cracks in the bond market was what he said. You are considering easing some regulations, you've said, for the big banks. How do you avoid that bond market crisis he's predicting spreading and really causing concern, particularly with all of the worries about American debt right now?
So again, I've known Jamie a long time, and for his entire career, he's made predictions like this. Fortunately, none of them have come true. That's why he's a banker. A great banker, he tries to look around the corner. One of the reasons I'm sitting here talking to you today and not at home watching your show is that I was concerned about the level of debt. So the deficit last year, and in 2 years, it will be lower again. We are going to bring the deficit down slowly. We didn't get here in 1 year. We didn't get here in 1 year, and this has been a long process. So the goal is to bring it down over the next 4 years, leave the country in great shape in 2028.
You know that the Speaker of the House estimates this is going to add $4 to $5 trillion over the next 10 years.
This is key here, what he says here.
Increase.
Well, again, Margaret, that's CBO scoring.
That's the Speaker of the House.
No.
He said it last Sunday on this program.
He said that's the CBO scoring.
He said that sounds right.
Let me tell you what's not included in there, what can't be scored. So we're taking in substantial tariff income right now. So there are estimates that could be another $2 trillion. Mm-hmm. That we are pushing through savings. So my estimate is that could be up to another $100 billion a year. So over the 10-year window, that could be $1 trillion. President has a prescription drug plan with the pharmaceutical companies that could substantially push down costs for prescription drugs, and that could be another $1 trillion. So there's the 4.
Okay, so interesting stuff. And it's stuff we've talked about before, which is it's going to be a combination of savings. It's going to be a combination of tariff income. It's going to be a combination of expanding the overall economic pie to generate more revenue. Like all those things have to happen. And so he's a very interesting carrier of the message, does a really good job in many cases just to make sure that, it makes some sense. So we'll see. But the reason we talk about this is because this is going to be a huge issue. It's a massive issue across the board. And this bill has to come through because, and the reason you have to have something come through is if you don't, 82% of Americans will see their taxes increase significantly. That Trump tax cut in 2017, anyone who tells you that it was a tax cut for the rich doesn't know what they're talking about. And so it was one of the most effective tax cuts for middle income and lower income Americans, and it has to be continued. If you go and start to ratchet up taxes on low income and middle income Americans, it will be absolutely devastating.
Well, I just think, again, we need to get all the information about the big, beautiful bill and what's actually going to happen. And we have no idea what that is right now.
Right.
So we still have a lot of waiting it out, basically, to see what the Senate does. And I just think it's kind of crazy to see our reps in this state coming already to do these tours to scare people about cuts that may or may not happen. And again, we're talking about cuts that are people that should be able to work, that should be able to go back, apply for a job, and get work and get off of assistance or as much of assistance.
Yeah.
That's what's talking
nobody's
about.
proposing cutting benefits for those who need it.
Well, but that is what the fear-driving mongers
I understand.
are.
I understand. Hey, that's politics, right? I mean, you're going to get out there and you're going to start.
I would like to make sure that voters and just residents of New Mexico are smarter than that and are not falling for stuff that's not true.
But I think also what you'll find over time is the whole, oh my gosh, your Social Security check's going away, and it doesn't happen. That there's a cost to that. There's a cost to saying all these things are going to happen, and when they don't, you look like you don't know what you're talking about.
You look like a crying wolf, and it's
right. And again, but that this happens in politics all the time. So the question is, where does this policy go? What impact does it have on Main Street? And if it has the impact of, well, there's really no impact at all, then you're going to see those numbers, which Harriet was talking about earlier in the show, not changing or continuing to slide to the right. So that's just a fact, right?
Okay.
So that's where it goes.
All right.
Now here we go. I got bad news for you.
Oh,
all right.
great.
So here we go. So last two stories here. Unhealthiest bottled drinks on the planet. Mm-hmm. This is fascinating. Okay. Went through. There's a bunch of them, but I grabbed the top three. Okay. So one, all three of them are pretty well known, and number 3 on the list is the Frappuccino.
Okay.
I mean, these are delicious. If you've ever had one, they are delicious. There's no doubt. They're 270 calories.
Yeah, they're
saturated
delicious.
Fat 3 grams.
They're like ice cream.
milligrams.
You gotta just think of it like a dessert.
Yeah.
Really. You have to think of these like a dessert.
No, you're right. You're right. And if you're having one every morning, it's like, it's probably not a great move, right? And so they talk about what the deal is. And basically, she says it's a sugar-laden dessert disguised as a coffee beverage.
Okay.
So
that's
I totally get that, right? 46 grams of sugar. That's a ton, right?
Okay.
That's a ton of sugar. All right. Number 2, our girls like this stuff.
Yes.
Arizona green tea with ginseng and honey.
Mm-hmm.
You think, oh my gosh, ginseng, is this healthy? Look at it. It's got a green label. It looks very nice.
No, it's all marketed.
Oh, it looks beautiful. And the issue here, part of the issue is the fact that you look at it and you say, oh, it has 130 calories, but that's half the bottle. So you drink the whole bottle and you're at 260 calories and 68 grams of sugar.
Right. But it's also with high fructose corn syrup, which I am anti, I'm very anti that.
Yes. So, all right. So not great. And then the last one.
This bums me out.
This is Christy's go-to.
It is
breakfast.
my go-to. Maybe the chocolate one isn't as bad as the vanilla.
No, it's every bit as bad.
What is wrong with it?
So go ahead and read. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is my Core Power Fairlife protein shake, which I love these.
I love Fairlife, actually.
We drink Fairlife milk because it's great and it's easy to digest and all these things. I'm really upset about that. Core Power protein shakes may seem like a convenient post-workout drink, but a closer look at the ingredients reveals several health concerns. They use non-organic conventional dairy, which often comes with GMO corn and soy, and may contain residues of hormones and antibiotics. Okay, and then the addition of carrageenan, a thickening agent linked to gut inflammation and irritation.
Yeah, there it is. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but it just is. It's an issue.
It's an issue.
So
And listen, Fairlife, I love your drink. So whatever that thickening agent is, get that thing out of there. Because I love this protein shake, and it's so much easier to grab one and drink it than make my own every day.
I agree. Fairlife's great stuff.
Come on,
Fairlife. And by the way,
Fairlife.
also on the list was Fairlife chocolate milk. That was on the list too.
What?
It was not top 5, but it was top 10.
Just because it's not organic?
Yeah, there were, yes. Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of the issue that
there's
it's
a
not
bunch
organic.
and the filtering and all this other jazz. I don't know. But anyway, so that's that.
Okay, now here you go. Here's what you've been waiting for, people.
Yep. This
Viral video of Bigfoot. Yes, sir, it's true. It was found in Colorado.
Yep.
My home state.
Yep. Now, by the way, this picture of this eye is a bison.
It has nothing to do
but
with
anyway, that's
Bigfoot.
not nothing to. But anyway, you want to see the video?
Oh, we cannot wait.
Okay.
I'm sure it's going to be close up. It's going to be in focus.
Well, here we go.
Because with today's camera equipment.
Right. Yeah, so here we go. I'll turn down the volume on it. But, okay, see him right there in the middle? Right there.
Barely.
Look at him right there.
Oh, barely. Okay, all right.
He looks like Chaka from Land of the Lost a little bit.
Okay.
Look at him, though. Kind of peering around. Look at this. Do you think he's in I don't know, this could be legit right here.
Okay, okay.
Look at him. You think it's somebody in a suit?
Well, here's the thing. There's a very popular restaurant in Denver called Casa Bonita.
Gross.
And they have a guy that dresses up in a gorilla suit, or they used to anyway.
Okay.
And so they could have got this gorilla suit from Casa Bonita,
right,
and gone up into the hills of Colorado.
They might. You think is that what color? What color is the suit?
Oh, it's black.
Yeah,
it's
see,
super
this
cheesy.
is brown.
This is not.
legit.
I'm just being funny because I'm from Colorado, and everybody that's been from Colorado grew up going to Casa Bonita and seeing the guy in the gorilla suit. Like it's kind of the thing.
All right, that's good to know. But
and so you see the gorilla. He's the gorilla. That's the gorilla. That is not Bigfoot. That looks like a gorilla out there.
It looks like a Bigfoot. I mean that.
Okay, and here's my issue though. Again, Mark, is why do we only allow? Like, how are our cameras only able to get just? I mean, what is this guy like a mile away? And
yeah. Well, these again, they go through wormholes in time, guy. They're just this is not. They don't just live in some cave somewhere. They're in another dimension, and then they're coming in.
So it's hard to get them zoomed in with our iPhones because they're coming from a different dimension.
Yes, well, that's why you don't see them laying around. Problem. That's why you never see any carc eye or anything like that.
We don't see any what?
Carc eye.
What's that?
That's more than one carcass. So I don't know if it's really called carc eye, but
I'm gonna be concerned
you want to say
about
carcasses?
What are you listening to?
No, I'm not listening to anything. I'm just telling you.
The fact that you think Bigfoot is coming from a wormhole in time?
Yes, I mean they're time travelers.
Oh, okay,
that's the thought now with Bigfoot. By the way, that's the prevailing thought on Bigfoot.
Well, that's the prevailing thought on UFOs too, which we've talked about. But again, here's my concern: is that at least the UFO videos have gotten better over time. At least the things that people are saying, hey, I think this is a UFO.
Yeah.
They've gotten sharper and clearer, and they've held it for a long time.
Right.
Bigfoot remains always super duper far away.
Yeah.
We can't get any closer. Yeah. I mean, our camera equipment.
Sorry. What do you
we can find galaxies out of our light.
Have you seen a snow leopard walking around? No. Does it mean they don't exist? No. It means they're very, very...
Okay, but I'll tell you this. I know what a snow leopard actually looks like because somebody actually zoomed in and got a really clear photo of a snow leopard. I've yet to see somebody zoom in and get a really close capture of Bigfoot.
Again, because they're time travelers. The fact that you don't understand this is ridiculous. All right. So thanks for joining us. I don't know what to say about Chrissy. I apologize for her attitude. But we will be back with you.
We'll come back with a time traveler Bigfoot expert at some point. If you guys know one, I mean, please write in.
Is there one in New Mexico?
So we can hurt our credibility even more and just have them come on and talk about it.
That's not true.
Oh.
We're not going to hurt anything. We're going to give you the details on this. And I'll tell you what, when we find out that they are time travelers and Christy's wrong, we're going to have her apologize.
Planet of the Apes, and they're coming here.
That's exactly right. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here coming up on Sunday.
You've been listening to the No Doubt About It podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at No Doubt About It Podcast.
No doubt about it.
The No Doubt About It podcast is a Choose Adventure Media production. See you next time on No Doubt About It.
There is no doubt about it.